Welcome to this week's episode of the Forward Together podcast. We are here, I think, is it week 20?
It is.
Week 20. Hard to believe we've been doing this for, that's like 5 months. That's a big part of some people's lives, but we are glad you were here with us. We got a great show today. Rob, how you doing this morning?
Doing great, Jamie. Here we are, another Monday.
It is another Monday. It was a beautiful weekend, both weather, and then yesterday we had Youth Sunday at church.
We sure did.
Man, it was incredible. When I opened, I talked a little bit about it's cool to see. Stacy and I have been here for about 4 years now, and it's just really cool to see the growth and maturity because basically I feel like all the kids that were on stage have been here since we got here for the most part.
Yep.
Like Lainey and Sean and things like that, seeing them just kind of grow up and go from kind of like kid. I mean, I know they're still kids, they're still youth, but to kind of go from kids to being the leaders of the youth group, and I always talk about I think they're the future generation leaders of the church.
Yep. Yeah. Super proud of them. Pastor Matt led worship yesterday, and we had a youth choir, and then 3 of our teens that had a really great experience at Winterfest kind of gave a testimony they had written out, and it was like they did a song and a testimony and a song and a testimony, and it really flowed well, I thought, and the way that they did the songs and the lead. And we had some of our youth along with some of the children to help usher, and that was really cool, help with greeting and parking yesterday. So we tried to get our youth involved in all the different aspects of the service, and it was a really successful day. And I get my hats off to Pastor Matt and Ashley for coordinating that and preparing the songs and everything that they did. And it was just great. And I appreciated some of because I'm around the kids a lot. I coach some of them in softball, right, and I see them at school, and I'm around them a lot. My friends are best friends with them, but it was good to see them show appreciation to the church and recognize it was maturity on their part to recognize that the church has supported them to be able to go to Winterfest and have the experiences that they had.
No, totally agree. What I thought was really cool, and so we're in between AV setups at the church, so I was using my iPhone to film, so I didn't get to kind of jot down notes, what I usually do when I'm closing. But there were 3 what I thought were powerful takeaways from the testimonies yesterday. Celeste talked about, that she thought she'd been saved, but then realized she wasn't, and God brought her in closer. And I think we've all at some point in our life kind of been there where, you think you're here, but then when you have an even closer talk and move of the Lord, you realize that what you thought was here is here.
Yeah. And
God brings you in closer. Lainey talked about, and it was funny because it was kind of when I say a one-off sentence, I don't mean a one-off sentence, but it wasn't really the meat of what she was talking about. But she said something to the effect of, you hear when you listen. And I thought that was super powerful. I don't remember exactly how she said it, but that was the basic gist of.
I'll have to go back and listen again.
Yeah, because she was talking about, I heard the Lord when I was listening or something like that. Again, it was kind of a throw, but I'm like, man, that was so powerful because God's always talking,
yes,
but are we listening? And then Shauna talked about, I think, a little bit about how, she didn't feel worthy, and she's going on a missions trip, but how God made her, show that He uses everyone, and she is worthy. But there's just 3 powerful messages within what they were talking about.
Yeah, definitely.
It was really cool.
Yeah, and I wanted to tie the message into the kind of a youth themed message that was related both to them and to the church. And so for the word of the week today, we'll just kind of share from yesterday. We talked about Daniel and how Daniel and the Hebrew boys determined not to defile themselves with the portion of the king's meat and wine that from the king's table that he had selected to give to them while they were in Babylonian captivity. And I talked about how they were determined to be different. They had the determination that they weren't. I think the King James uses the word purpose. Daniel purposed in his heart that he wasn't going to defile himself. And so for all of us, but especially for youth, to make the determination at a young age that we're not going to allow the culture around us to defile us, to kind of sidetrack the work that God is trying to do in our lives, I think is a powerful story. And we see the evidence of that throughout the book of Daniel in many instances where they did not bow before the idol of gold, where they did not refuse to pray with the window open, refused to to kind of stand for what they believed in their values. And so, just a word that, and I talked about not being fake, but being sincere and being true and standing for what you believe, even when you're not in your youth group, you're not with your Christian buddies, but you're in another situation, but you're the same both places where you are. And I had someone, as they were leaving yesterday, tell me, and this individual, I don't know where their relationship with the Lord is, but as they were leaving yesterday, they said, that related to me, because I try to be the same wherever I'm at.
Yep.
And just encourage our kids to be that way, because that's the way Daniel was. I mean, whether you're in Jerusalem or you're in Babylon, you're faithful to be God's man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know I strive to be me, both in my faith and as a man. And I jokingly, because I don't quite mean it this way, but I'm like, hey, love me or hate me, I want to be the same whenever you see me. So no, it was a great message. I actually enjoyed having up on the slides the names, like what they meant in their thing versus the biblical name. That was cool.
The name that God gave them versus the Babylonian name, that the label they were placed on.
Yeah. I don't know if I thought it was good to have them on the slides. I don't know if I would have heard it if it would have actually stuck in as much as being able to read it and see it. So good. I appreciated that.
Good feedback there, yeah.
Hey, so today we both played sports. As we were growing up at different levels through high school and even a little bit in college, because I did play college basketball for the River Knights. I like saying that.
Baseball, New River Knights.
Yeah, so we want to talk a little bit about how sports impacts you as a kid. I think growing up and kind of even as a man or woman as you kind of get through. So a little background on me. So I grew up, played Little League Baseball from whatever that starts at back in the day. Played baseball through there. I had a couple of years, I think a year of track. I played one year of football and realized, I like football. I like the contact, but wrestling was my main sport, which I did all through school. I graduated 125 pounds, and at Pulaski County, they played real football. And at some point, physics takes over, which I never took physics. However, I will tell you, if you were 125 pounds, even if you were all muscle, when you hit 200 pounds, you lose. So I decided that was not going to be for me at an early age.
Yep.
And then I feel lucky. I was actually on Jack Leahy was the coach to be on the first basketball team for, I think they're a different name now. They're the New River Knights when we started. They were green and white, and it was the first year to my knowledge, I know it was New River's first year. I believe it was the first year that the Virginia Community College League had competitive sports. Like we went around and played like Virginia Western and all those community colleges. They had a state tournament and everything.
That's fun.
Yeah, it was cool.
That's cool. Yeah. So for me, background, most people know me as a baseball guy, but I actually didn't start out that way. I started out playing soccer and played soccer from, I guess, like first grade up through fifth, so my elementary years, I played soccer. And then around about 6th, 7th grade, I started, falling in love with baseball and played baseball my story's different. I didn't have the T-ball and all the Little League. I started late, but worked a lot with my dad, through a lot, practiced good fundamentals a lot, and, played a few years of Little League and then made the high school team, played for the Cougars. Tried out my freshman year and didn't make it. Tried out that summer for the summer league team and made it. Pulaski White Sox, I guess we were.
Nice.
And made that, and then made the JV team my sophomore year and played through. And then Jamie and I are so similar. We've joked about this before, but he was on the first basketball team at New River. I was on the first baseball team at New River Community College, the Knights.
Yes.
We're green and white, and this was several years after you had won. I mean, there's a little bit of difference in our ages, but
I think you did that on purpose.
Well, I mean, you paved the way. Basketball first. It's an easier sport to kind of get started. And,
I'm a trailblazer.
And then we did baseball, and so I was on the first baseball team, and I actually got the first pitching win.
Oh, wow.
We beat Roanoke College. We played at Salem at the Memorial Stadium, the old, not Memorial, the Kiwanis field there in Salem, where the Buccaneers used to play before they built the stadium they use now, and beat Roanoke College 4-3. And so, yeah, that was pretty fun. Played 2 years. I actually stayed another year at New River because I wanted to play another year of baseball and went ahead and graduated with that associate degree. And so, I played 2 years there, and that was fun. So Jamie, as we play sports and you go along, what do you think, like, for me, and I'll tell my story here in a minute, but I remember a lot of I feel like sometimes I remember the moments where I didn't win or I didn't succeed as much as I do the times that you win the championship and you do succeed or you do really well in a game. I kind of remember both, and some of those memories really, even now at our age, still stand out vividly to me, and I think there's life lessons there, and that's kind of why I felt like this was a good topic to talk about today, is what life lessons, wrestling was your main thing, but in any sports, like what life lessons do you feel like you learned that kind of still resonate today?
Yeah, I think the biggest overall lesson is you really do get out of things what you put into things. So, wrestling, obviously very disciplined, both with working out and diet. Well, if you're somebody like me who cut weight, I guess if you're a heavyweight and didn't have to cut weight. But you were, and this is different, I played team sports too with baseball and basketball, but with wrestling, it's you. I mean, there is no one else to blame. When you walk off the mat, whether you won or lost, it was because of what you did. And so it teaches a lot of responsibility. You don't want to embarrass yourself. So you have to put in the work in order to walk off the mat victoriously. And I think as you get older, as you start progressing through, when you start out or during the season, you can sometimes win on talent or you're just better than they are. Mm-hmm. From a skill perspective, maybe you're just stronger. But as you go through, you get into tournaments and that kind of thing, you generally will meet someone who is equal to or better than you. And what are you going to do at that point? Mm-hmm. And you don't always win, but what did you learn from the win? So I think it teaches you a lot about hard work. It teaches you a lot about humility, because very few wrestlers, especially, win them all. I did see there was a college guy who, I don't know that he ever lost in high school or college. He's undefeated in college. I believe he was undefeated all 4 years of high school too. So outside of that dude, which is a rarity, it teaches you a lot about yourself and seeing what mistakes you made, but then understanding how to go correct those and like how you get better. And then, through my professional career, it's a lot the same way. Like you get into your career you get out of your career what you put into it. So, not every sales pitch works, not every meeting's you're going to win. But the key thing is you don't put your head down, much like wrestling. You walk off the mat, you shake hands. Hey, sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. And then you go back and put in the work to get better at whatever you missed. Yeah,
that's good. That's good wisdom right there. Yeah, absolutely. What about success? I mean, what does success teach you think?
So I think it teaches you success is a tightrope, and it can. I think success is more dangerous than failure sometimes. So myself, I know I was undefeated my 8th grade year in regular season. I believe I was undefeated my freshman year. It's a long time ago. However, I never won a district championship and never won a tournament because I either lost the first round or the last round of every tournament I was ever in. And sometimes it wasn't necessarily because they were better than me. In many cases they were. I'll never forget, there was this kid from Grundy. I was undefeated. This was in 8th grade. I was undefeated the whole year. I don't think I had a match go out of the first minute and 15 seconds. For those watching, you know anything about Grundy, it's over in a coal mining town. Yep. All they do is wrestle. I believe it's still that way. So I am undefeated. Never went past the first round against 8th grade. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. That's my recollection. That kid worked me in like 45 seconds. And I went into it thinking that, I was the stuff. Nobody can touch me. That dude worked me like I'd never been on a mat before.
Wow.
He won 3 state titles. So you always learn that someone is better than you. regardless of how good you are. There is someone at some point who will be better than you. And winning can, it can make you feel your oats a little more than you should.
Yeah.
And I think wrestling as a whole is like that more than team sports. Because when you play basketball, it's a team. Football is like the ultimate team sport. But wrestling can give you a bloated sense of yourself and your abilities. So you learn to be. Some will say I have not learned this all that well, but it can humble you.
Yeah.
And I think being humbled is good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have found, and I'll share a couple of examples, but memories from those years of playing sports vividly still stand out in my mind today, as if they just happened. It's almost like it's recorded in my brain somewhere. It's like hardwired into my brain, and I can still remember being on the mound, being on the field, and how I felt, and what happened in the situation, and who I was playing, and all of that. I don't know. Do you have those?
Oh, absolutely.
Those memories as well. Yeah. To me, it's interesting because you can't remember some of those things so vividly, and something that happened more recent, it's not as memorable. But for me, playing baseball was. I know we won one championship in Little League in 1994, but I can't remember a lot of success in high school. Pulaski County, like you said, we played real football.
Yes.
And that was baseball was kind of most guys' number 2, number 3 sport. It wasn't their number 1. And so that was kind of what you did in the spring. But for me, it was my number 1. It was my only sport. And so, but it was a lot of good memories, a lot of good experiences. But as far as the success, I can't really say there was any lessons from learning from success in high school because I don't remember a lot of it. I mean, we won a few games, but we were never in contention for the district or the region. This county right here where we're recording from, Franklin County, they were the ones who were winning the district and the region back in the late 90s.
RVD didn't remember.
No.
You were in RVD?
Yeah, we were in Roanoke Valley District.
Yeah, I just don't remember baseball. All I remember the only thing I ever got talked about was football.
Franklin County, Cave Spring.
Yeah,
William
I just
Flynn,
didn't know they were the
Patrick
winners.
King.
No, I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know who the
and Cave Spring was strong too. But I remember like my junior year playing at William Fleming, and we're supposed to beat them. They're no way weren't strong in baseball. I don't think they are now. We're supposed to beat them. And I remember pitching. I had come in relief, and I remember the pitcher for the other team had dug a hole, like on his landing, on his stride.
Okay.
Like he had over and over had dug a hole.
Thought he brought a shovel.
And it was cleat. And so when I would follow through with my pitch, my foot was hitting his place, but it wasn't the same, and it was throwing me off every time. And I'm not to make an excuse, but I was struggling. It was rough. It was a rough night. We shouldn't have lost that, but things just kind of unraveled. But I can still remember that. And then I remember, I don't know if it was a senior year, I can't remember. We were playing Cave Spring at Calfee at home, and I come in. There was runners on first and second. The next guy bunts. And I fielded, and my first baseman had charged in to field it too. So nobody's covering the bag. So now the bases are loaded, and then the next guy hits a grand slam. So I remember like those things like stand out in my mind really. So I guess maybe that was my junior year. I don't know, but I think kind of having the drive to continue to go, even though you failed, even though you've not had a good, but finishing it out and sticking with it. I remember, and I remember a good moment. I remember our senior night, our last game. I remember hitting a double against Patrick Henry at home. I think we won that game, and so our last game actually was here, and the tournament against Franklin County we lost. But I just feel like there's adversity, and so that kind of carried over into New River. I remember winning and beating Roanoke College, like you said, but I also remember the last game we played, we lost, and we were down at Rappahannock, played Rappahannock Community College, and lost that game. But so a lot of memories that stand out. But I think the lesson is that you, like you said, you get out of it what you put into it. Learning to work hard, learning to stick with it, and not quit when things get hard, but continue to go forward. And now, as a coach, trying to instill those kind of same things. One of the things I like to tell my players now is that, and I coach girls softball, is that our effort isn't conditional, because sometimes we'll go out there and it'll be windy, it'll be cold, it'll be spitting rain, that we're facing a tough pitcher, field's rough. I mean, there's all kinds of conditions. There are things that are out of your control, but your effort needs to be the same as if the conditions are ideal.
Yeah.
And I try to instill that in the girls, and because if it's cold, I remember a game in Roanoke last year, it was cold, I mean real cold and windy, and they act like they want to be out there. It's like we put forth the same effort regardless of the conditions when we step out on this field.
No, absolutely. I'm going to go off script a little bit. So I felt like during our time of growing up, everyone played at least a sport at some point. Maybe not in high school because they didn't want to take it that seriously, but almost everybody I knew, even kids who turned out not to be quote unquote athletic, still played at some level.
I agree.
I look now, I remember like when Pulaski, the sideline, like on football was totally full. Franklin County is the same way. You go to a Franklin County game now. You wonder like a couple people got hurt, like if they'd have enough people to even put in the field. So I feel like this generation is losing a little bit because I'm not saying this is right and or wrong because there's probably, as always, lies in the middle somewhere. The way I was coached, and I'm guessing the way you was coached, they would probably get fired today. Between the amount of obscenities, they would run us in the ground. And I'm not saying that's the way to do it, but coaches in our day were tough. And I also think it made us tougher because that's the way it was. When you go through college, you get into a work environment. Probably being a pastor, your bosses probably aren't cursing you, but I don't know. I guess probably people at some point. But like you could deal with it because you had dealt with adversity, dealt with people telling you you're wrong kind of in your face. I actually feel like our generation is missing that. They joke about participation trophies and stuff. And there was none of that. Like if for lack of a better word, if you sucked, you sat on the bench back in my day.
Yeah.
Like there was no, hey, we'll make sure everybody plays kind of thing. So thoughts? That's totally unscripted. But
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, it's kind of where we're at. It's kind of the challenges of leading and coaching and being a part of this now is to understand that, it is different and you have to obviously, you just have to take a different approach and it is challenging, but it does, like I think you said, it carries over with life skills. And that's the whole point of bringing this up is, we're not going back out on the ball field to play, and you're not getting on the mat to wrestle. Those days are behind us, but there's life lessons there that we learned. And we're hoping the student athletes of today are learning some life lessons to how to handle adversity, how to handle challenges when their situations aren't going to be right. We can't, as much as we want to protect our children, we want to keep them in a good, safe environment, and there's always some challenges and risk, and life is full of that. And we have to teach our kids to have courage to face, whether they're facing a tough pitcher, a fast pitcher, and they're up there and their swing's late, they're behind it, or that tells you stand in the box, don't step out, have courage. Just like when you have to have a tough conversation with somebody, or you have to have a difficult meeting or something that you have courage to face up with that. Yeah,
I don't know, and we can end the segment on this, but someone who hired retail for, probably 20 plus years, you were hiring that 18 to, 25, 26 was generally the people that were coming in. Nothing's ever definite, but if they had some type of extracurricular background, didn't even have necessarily sports, but if they did something for years, generally, regardless of grades or like GPAs and stuff like that, they generally were employees you could count on more, because if they had showed a dedication to do something, like a lot of, this is not something like, like they did FFA or if they're in FBL, if they had some type of extracurricular activity, it showed they have a attitude of, I want to do something, I will be there, because you don't generally even stay in those organizations, whether sports or kind of extracurricular stuff, unless you did. So you could generally count on it. Yeah, Boy Scout. Yeah, absolutely is another one where it showed that I can, I say get up, but you can be somewhere on time. Because all those things are outside of what you had to do kind of with school.
Yeah.
So, sports is definitely a good precursor to employees as well.
Yep. And with that being said, every week we do a little sports recap. So we are kind of on the waning days of March Madness here. Another week or so, and the basketball tournaments will be over. Jamie, thoughts on the tournament so far?
So if no spoilers here, if you didn't see games yesterday, so there's 4 number 1 seeds are in the Final Four. I think it happened one other time. I heard someone say. I don't personally remember it happening, but I do think it has happened one other time. Yeah. It's 1 year, 1 tournament. This one's been pretty boring. It's just there are a few minor upsets, McNeese State, but that wasn't even a big one. I am hoping, and I'm trying not to be doomsday because I think the players probably needed some money. I am hoping the NIL has not ruined college basketball. I think college football is already done. But to see 4 number 1s, and I think the lowest seed, Michigan State was 2 or 3. I'm not sure there was a seed below 5 in the Elite 8. So, it's all upper guys because, again, 1 year, so we won't panic. If you see it next year the same, it makes me wonder if NIL hasn't just taken out all the little guys for college basketball.
Which seems different than football because there was a lot of parity in football this year. A lot of, you know what I mean by that? There was a lot of teams, especially in the SEC, that lost. True. Teams that normally go undefeated or 1 loss were having 2, 3 losses.
But I guess I don't disagree with you. That's 100% accurate. You only get a few teams in college football, so I think what made the Alabamas and Ohio States always great is their second and third strings were as good as your first strings. And so now I think those second and third string guys are at other places. But you still only get 12 teams versus 64. I think if you did 64, you'd end up with chalk. I was going to say they'll never do 64 football teams. If the NCAA could do 64, they probably would. But no, I think it's maybe not ruin sports, but Big Dogs,
I agree with you.
The Hokies will never compete, and if you're watching this and you're a Hokies fan, not happening. They'll not be.
Well, I'd like to think you're wrong, but we'll see.
They don't have deep pockets.
Yeah.
They're not a school where, to my knowledge, there's anybody going to come in and give a quarterback $20 million. If you ain't giving a quarterback $20 million, that's probably a little high. I think the kid that was it Carson Beck? I think he's going to Miami and he got $6 million, $6 million. Was it? Either way, several million. Multiple millions. I don't think that's happening at Tech.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see how it all shakes out. But the ones who really are making the millions, the NBA, how's the Warriors doing?
The Warriors are still doing okay. I think they're going to make the playoffs. Had a big fight between Minnesota and Detroit. It's kind of taking the news. It was 7-8 people. They're swinging.
Oh, wow.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. Adam Silver is a very different commissioner than David Stern. If David Stern was still the commissioner, with Malice in the Palace, half those guys wouldn't play probably the rest of this year and maybe into next year. So we'll see what happens. But sports a little meh at this time of year.
What did you call it? The Malice at the Palace?
Malice at the Palace, yeah. You remember that? When they had the big fight, they went up Ron Artest, went up in the stands.
Oh, yeah.
Malice at the Palace. Yeah. That was David Stern. Those people sat forever, had to wear suits next year. It was crazy.
Well, baseball has started. Opening day was Thursday. My Braves have played 4 games, and guess what? 0-4 to start the year. Yet to win. The last 2 games, the Braves have not scored a run, so I'm not quite sure what to make of all that. But hey, I will tell you, I saw a stat. The last year they won the World Series, 2021, they started 0-3.
Well, luckily they played 3,000 games.
162, so there's 158 games left to turn this around. So. Maybe 158-4. Wouldn't that be something?
Dude, they all play too many games. Basketball 82. I think way too many. Football I know it's all about this.
Oh yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, they say that about every sport. There's too many races. There's too many football games now. It's too many teams in the playoffs. Too many, but hey, it is what it is.
Well, it's I get tired of back when, because football's at 17 now, 18.
No,
16.
It's 16 or 17.
16 or 17. Either
So
way.
the Miami Dolphins were 16-0 undefeated, right? And I think there's one more game now that they
But
play.
even from then, I think at one point it was even lower because at one point having a running back having a 1,000-yard season was a big deal.
Yeah.
If you have a 1,000-yard season now, you only have to average like 67 yards a game.
True. Yeah. True.
I mean, it's really
and
not
play every game. Stay healthy.
Yeah.
Play every game.
But I mean, 1,000 yards a season used to mean you were having good games every game. Now, I mean, it's like 60, 70 yards.
Yeah.
If you divide it out.
I mean, you'd be like having 10 or so 100-yard games
Yeah.
to get that.
I mean, I would throw you out there to see if you could do it.
The 67 yards?
Yes.
I don't know.
I'm old.
I'd be running away from some people for sure.
I've always thought I could get 67 yards because I'd be scared to get tackled.
Yeah.
It might be a negative 67. I'd run the other way.
Well, they probably play smash mouth real football too.
Yeah, they probably do. Yeah, I know.
So NASCAR came to our area this weekend in Martinsville, and Denny Hamlin won yesterday. The race at Martinsville, the first time in 10 years that Denny's won at Martinsville. I think it's his 6th win, and that he's the most current of the current drivers. He has the most Martinsville win. You know the trophy. What you get as a trophy if you win Martinsville?
Grandfather clock.
Grandfather clock. Jamie knows some NASCAR facts. Look at that. 2 things Martinsville's known for is the clock and what else?
Clearances.
The what?
Clearances.
No.
That's how they have clocks there.
Okay.
That's how come I knew about the clocks.
Oh, okay. The hot dogs.
Oh.
The hot dogs at the track. I didn't know if you'd know that. The Martinsville hot dog and the grandfather clock as the trophy. So Denny now has 6 of those. Richard Petty has 15. Just to kind of let you know.
Hot dogs?
He loves hot dogs. No, but 15 grandfather clocks. So we actually took Rob and one of his friends from school to Petty Fest on Saturday. Went down and had a good day. Had a car show. Can I tell a quick story?
Oh, dude,
before we go?
so.
We're wrapping up, but I got to tell the story because this made my day Saturday.
For the one of you that's still here, here we go.
This made my day Saturday. So we're going into Petty. So we had to get up really early to get down there to get in line to get an armband because they were only doing 50 meet and greet. They're free, but you got to be in line. So we got down there really super early to meet Richard and Kyle, get an armband. So Rob's buddy was a Richard Petty fan, had never been before. So he was just over the moon with everything, just all new. And it was really fun kind of seeing that.
Was it busy? I'm not trying to be funny. Was it packed? Like, did you need to be there early?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you weren't, I'll tell you that off camera. But,
Okay.
But anyway, we get our armband, and then you get your armband at one location, and then you drive down, and they're parking. Well, they do this car show, and you have to pay to enter the car show and all this stuff. Well, I had cleaned the truck the day before. I had washed and waxed it like I do most weeks,
right,
keeping it looking nice. And so we're pulling in, and I was like, "How much?" And it was like, it's $10 for adults. I said the boys are like 12. He's like, "Oh, the boys are free. You're good." I was like, "Okay." So I was paying and everything, and I was like, they had these little, they do these little souvenir like plates for the car show, and usually I buy one. They're autographed by Richard and Kyle, and I usually buy one just as like a souvenir. It's got the date and everything.
Okay.
And I was like, "Can I get one of those?" And she was like, "Yeah, I'll save one aside for you," because I had to go get some more cash or whatever. And I was like, "So where do I park?" I said, "Are you showing or spectating?" I said, "I'm just spectating." She's like, I said, "Do I pull around back?" She said, "You got a nice truck. Why don't you just go ahead and park in the show?" I was like, "Really?" And so I got to be in the car show Saturday. The first time ever it made my day.
That's awesome.
I made my day.
Did you win?
No, I don't know. It wasn't really a competition. It was just kind of just had me out there.
That's very cool.
I parked beside like the front row. There was all these like, there was just a little bit of everything. There was other Dodge Rams, like big souped up ones. There was a couple of General Lee cars there. Some like stock cars that were like street legal that people had driven in and all this stuff. And there's my black Dodge Ram. There's an aerial shot of the whole thing. I'll have to show it to you, and it shows my car on the end of the row. It literally made my day. I texted Casey, and I was so excited. Later, I said, "Hey, by the way, did I tell you I was in the car show?" It's like it just.
In all seriousness, I'm trying to be funny. I actually thought you had taken like your old Dodge because it was a classic. Seriously, that's what I thought you were going to tell me.
No, that wouldn't have fit all three of us, but no, that with the paint job on that, they would have. Yeah, you're in the back. Just come on around back apart.
It's in good shape. I really thought that's where you're going.
No, it was the Ram. So anyway, for the useless knowledge, that was my story of the weekend. So it was kind of fun.
All right, well that's it. That's the pod. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.